Thank you for taking time to explore this project idea for a moment in your day. I truly appreciate it. I'm going to walk you through an initiative that I've just started working on, inspired very much by my mum, Maggie Morgan, who you might know as Margaret Morgan. We've been speaking so much over the last couple of years about the activism that she has consistently been involved in, and some of those events and activities in Albury, which are so prominent in my early memories. And so I am looking to explore this further by creating this project, Voices of the Northeast, Stories of Grit and Grassroots Environmental Action in the 1980s, Albury and Wodonga. So I'm going to walk you through this idea. I will share this slide deck with you so you can take time to review it, because there's a bit more information than I can cover in this short explainer video introduction, reaching out to you saying g'day. So just to give you just a bit of a snapshot of what this is all about. So it's a personal and collective journey into the grassroots environmental activism that emerged in and around Albury-Wodonga in the early 80s, particularly through the formation of the Albury Environment Centre. So it's a chance to honour and better understand the people and the moments that shaped the quiet but significant movement, and one that's really, I know had a real knock-on effect in the local community. And I think, from what I understand through the various conversations that I've had, that this story hasn't been shared. It hasn't necessarily been documented. And there are many that are involved in activity in the Northeast that are sort of standing on the shoulders of the wonderful the wonderful work and the dedication. And I know that you would say the same thing, those of you that are involved in this, that there were many that came before you. But I think it's so important to make sure that this stuff is shared. And I'll go into some of the motivation behind why I feel compelled and driven to do this work in the next couple of slides. So this is a documentary-based storytelling project that explores the lives, contributions of those involved in this activism in the early 80s. It's part archive, part oral history, and a part a personal journey. For me, I'm at this particular stage of my life, having been involved in a lot of different community projects, that I'm really interested to learn a little bit more about the motivations and, what brought this group of people together at a particular time to do the work that they did, and the sort of challenges that they encountered, and the sorts of, what sits with all of you who might be watching this now when you reflect back on this time. So I hope to bring this group of people, however many people may become involved or become interested in whatever way, shape or form. And it's an opportunity to reflect on the legacy of this work and to share and celebrate it with others. So to create some sort of artifact or a number of different artifacts that can be shared easily and accessibly, that aren't across multiple platforms. So I just want to make this a really accessible piece of work. So why now? This is a rare opportunity. I have a relationship with a number of people already in this community of activists, and one of those being my mum, who's a precious thread in this story. So there's also, I know a lot of you are getting older, and so I really see that there's stories that are disappearing in my life in a number of different ways, and I think this is one of those particular stories where I feel a real duty as a story keeper to capture it the best that I can. I really want to honour those who shaped this movement. It's a compelling story. So many people have particularly narrow narratives around country Australia. And I think that this is a really interesting perspective and an interesting time to capture and share. I'm very interested in the motivations and that sparked the action. and learning more about that, and curating some of that so that others can learn a little bit about this time. And it's a chance to trace how the efforts have influenced the community, now Albury-Wodonga, and to understand what the knock-on effects were. I think that it's a really helpful way to build a bridge between the elders and younger people, who can, over time, when they're ready to, they can engage with this and understand something about a different time, and how people came together, and the forces that, the forces that they're up against, and the forces that supported them, and the way that they navigated that, the way that you all navigated that. And I think one of the biggest drivers for me is this particular project is a beautiful example that has just stood the test of time in my heart. To see that, when people get together, it really inspires hope. And I think, we're at a particular time when we really need those shining examples of how people can create change. So that's probably that could be at the top of this list. So why you? You've been identified by Margaret Morgan, now known as Maggie Morgan, as being closely involved with the Albury Environment Centre and community activism in the 1980s, in the early 1980s in Albury-Wodonga. So it's, as I mentioned, it's focused on capturing the stories, motivations, and impact of the core group. And I'm interested in honouring your perspective. So other perspectives, this is something that I'll probably look at a little bit further down the track, but there may be other voices that might be really helpful in integrating into this story. Perhaps they hold a piece of perhaps they're a story keeper and they remember things that they witnessed and were involved in, even if they weren't directly involved. Perhaps there's, a partner, a child, a friend, or a peer, somebody that worked in council that was a quiet supporter, or an ally. So what's involved? It's quite simple. I wish that I could run and interview everyone across Australia, but it's quite likely they'll probably make a time, have a bit of a chat with you, get a sense of, the sorts of things that you want to share. I might share some questions with you ahead of time, and we'd make a time to probably do an online via Zoom interview. We might do a couple of those interviews. They might be a couple of hours. It might be an hour or two in total. And then, yes, so sit together and talk about your memories and reflections, and you'd have the opportunity to shape how I, put together that particular narrative. And as per always with this sort of work, you can always opt out. So what would be created? So there is a sort of Rolls-Royce version of this, and there's the Toyota Corolla version, and it's really just about time and resources. For me, one of the things I just want to make sure that I have I feel a big duty to do is to capture the stories and make them accessible. And so that might be housing them in particular places where it's a bit of a one-stop shop, so those stories don't disappear. That may be a number of different YouTube videos that are put on a platform that is sort of like a dedicated website, and all of those other archives that might be available, trying to find a way to bring them together to curate it in one neat and enjoyable experience to support you and others who might like to explore or re-explore, return to this particular story. It would be my hope that I would be able to edit it together and create something that can tell a more of an integrated story of the different ways that you understood and experienced this time. And then also including written reflections, a community event and installations, or a presentation. It would be wonderful to bring everyone together to revisit and celebrate this moment in time. As I mentioned, stories will be made across meaningful platforms, such as a dedicated website featuring videos hosted on YouTube and downloadable archive materials where consent is provided. And there are a number of different platforms which might be really helpful, such as the Environmental Movement Research Hub, where they've thoughtfully created a space for groups like your own to place these archives and documents and things like that. So that could be helpful. But this is an evolving process and project. So I'm learning with every conversation about how and where this information might move to and what form it might take and who might support it. So it's really shaped by the conversations with you and connections and collaboration. So one thing really worth mentioning is that, of course, while I'm leading this process, I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and that means I'm collecting archives. And some of those archives that you might have, my mum Maggie has made those available to me. I've got a few different things, which is helping me to develop a bigger picture, a more of a macro picture of what was happening at that particular time. And some of the local Border Mail articles have been great too. I really, as you'll see through this particular slide deck, I don't have many photos at all of this time, so photos are really welcome. The goal is to build a repository. If you already have one of these, I just want to be very respectful and say, that's great. I will contribute to yours if I can. If you have material you'd like to share, I will make it very easy to share with me. And the archival material will be available with permission, just ensuring that I have consent and from the various people or organisations that might provide it, just to make sure that everybody can benefit from this process. Now, this is a bit of, maybe take a look away from this because this is a lot of information, but I couldn't do a bullet point job on my about me to do, I guess, the motivations behind why I'm doing this are clear to you. But yeah, basically, I probably saw you, quite a bit in my early life. As you can see here, sitting in meetings, tagging along with my mum, Margaret Morgan, and my sisters to a protest or a community event. These are really big events, moments in my early memory. So now I'm in my 40s. I've been working in community development for quite a number of years, and social work and social innovation, and I have a lifelong love of storytelling, photography, and creative multimedia projects. So I feel like I'm the story keeper. If I have a role in social change, it's that I was a great observer as a child, and now I feel like capturing stories is one of my great passions. I live in the Wurundjeri country in Yarra Ranges in a place called Wandon with my partner, who's also a filmmaker and a sociologist. And we have our 2 dogs too. So yeah, the people and conversations I was exposed to in the early years shaped how I understand the world, really. And it planted a type of seed in me that's made me pretty resilient, I reckon. It's kept me curious and hopeful ever since. And growing up in this movement, I feel a real deep responsibility to help document this time as a daughter, listener, researcher, and change maker, and a storyteller. So this project is not funded. It's a labour of love. I have the capacity to do this for about a day a week at the moment, so I'm very lucky to have that time. A way to say thank you and my effort to amplify the hope you inspire and continue to inspire in me that keeps me going. That when people come together, great things are possible. So you can go through this at your own in your own time with the PDF, but it's basically just to give you a sense of the sort of roadmap of like my process and how I'm working. So I'm sort of first of all gathering all of the archival material that I can, so I can really saturate myself with an understanding, and then doing the interviews, looking at a way to edit these so they're accessible, and then creating a hub where I can put these in a way that makes it an enjoyable experience for everyone who wants to explore this. And then sharing the work will be looking for other opportunities to share it or to build, opportunities for further collaboration or further expansion, or further possibilities. So seeking support from funding. That's really, like I said, the Rolls Royce, but that would be wonderful as well. So I just wanted to let you know that there's a couple of people supporting me. Of course, my mum is the subject matter expert in my life on this particular time and has been endlessly helpful. And I've already interviewed her, and gosh, did I learn more than I'm just so in awe. of my mum, and also all of you and the sorts of stories she shared. And also my partner Adrian, who has developed 2 documentaries, and so I'm very fortunate to have his skills and insight as I navigate this process. So thank you so much. If you want to reach out, you are welcome to. You're welcome to contact my mum, Maggie, or you can contact me. I've got a dedicated email just to make sure that things are pretty straightforward, and I don't lose your email in amongst all of my my own inbox, and my phone number's there as well. So I really look forward to speaking to you. Thank you for taking the time to explore this idea with me, and I look forward to being in touch.